Hello everyone, welcome back to OCD Recovery's YouTube channel. Before I go any further, please subscribe, like the video, really good for the algorithm. Today I want to kind of piggyback off of the video that Rob just made, talking about different perspectives on life and what actually, why people are so caught in the happiness trap and why people are so caught up in being hyper over concerned about what other people think about them. Now, in my life, I was very involved in bodybuilding and being around fitness for 10 years. I took anabolic steroids for a long time. I think I first started taking anabolics maybe, 13 years ago. It took them pretty much straight for about 4 years. Now, when I look at the people that I used to be friends with, the things I used to put myself around, and many people know me, I love exercise physiology, I love research, but there becomes a point where you're no longer learning to learn and you're learning to look smarter and brag about your knowledge. And this probably accounts for 98 out of 100 people in research from an exercise science perspective. The reason why we know this is because researchers are not just researching in the dark and then publishing peer-reviewed studies. A lot of them are bragging about it on their Instagram and bragging about how smart they are and bragging about sample sizes and bragging about the methodologies and the results and how much better it is from that and how much better it is from this. I was just at the pool for 3 hours and I had a great conversation with a retired couple in the pool that were from Idaho, which is a farm area in the country, the United States. And to the left of me was 3 females who spent 3 hours straight taking selfies, TikToks, and trying to look extra pretty for whoever it was being sent to, whether it was being posted for Reels in TikTok. And that is not freedom. That is, you're imprisoned in your own mind. Nothing you do anymore is based out of what you want to do. Basically, you wake up in the morning and the first thing that comes to your mind is this: how can I do what I can do for the remaining 16 hours of the day to prove my worth to other people? Whether that be social media posts, whether it be clothing, whether it be cars. I love cars. I don't really give 2 shits about clothes. I could wear the same shirt every day for the rest of my life. Anyone who really knows me knows I have a goofy style. My wife and I were laughing. We were going to it's called Longhorn Steakhouse if you're in America. You know what it is, but it's not a steakhouse, right? It's like a regular chain restaurant. And I was in sweatpants and a shirt. And Erica said to me, "Aren't you going to put some nice clothes on?" And I just said no. Which probably, she doesn't like all the time. She's probably listening to me because her office is right on the other side of this wall. But for me, I don't fortunately care about what other people wear. I disagree with the idea that people need to dress a certain way. Now, are there positives to first impressions when it comes to sales? Everyone's a salesperson in some regard, no matter what you do. Never forget that. Or anything like that, or cars. No, I don't care for whatever reason. People can do what they want, and we become so hyper-focused. And I want to piggyback to what Rob said, was talking about celebrity culture. Celebrity culture is, in my opinion, cancerous to the mind in many different ways. They're human beings, and they're human beings with their own problems. When you look at someone who has $400 million and they're in the limelight and an A-list celebrity, whoever it may be, they have many things that people want, right? Whether it's desire from a sexual perspective, whether it's, that includes good looks or whatever the ideal is, all the money and the clothes and the cars and the vacations. But we also see a major mental health problem in the celebrity culture. So we know that fame and fortune, for most, probably provides less happiness and contentment than we think. Because most of that stuff is instant gratification. That's why we have a huge drug problem and we have a huge people taking their own life problem in the Hollywood scene and overdoses and stuff like that. So it's just not the way we perceive things. Now, as someone who loves cars, I love cars because I like to, anything about cars. I like speed. I like the way they look. I like the elegance of them. I like the roar of the engine. I like the way they're made. I like where the engines are situated. I like the interior. I like the gleam of the colors. I've always been a big car person. I like motorcycles, although my wife won't let me get one because I'll probably kill myself. No joke, because I love speed. And I do these things because I love them and they bring me lots of joy. Now, Rob always talks about someone in sports buying a car and then they buy the same car. So if you go to an NFL player or a baseball player, they're all getting the same car, which is totally fine, right? They're getting the new version of the Ferrari, the Pista, or the F8 bi-turbo, or they're getting the new Lamborghini, the Urus, and everyone talks about Urus trucks. And I think Lamborghini Urus trucks are sweet. I think they're awesome. There's a person in my town who has this color Lamborghini Urus with a wide body kit. It's disgusting. But I don't think those people actually want those cars in the way they think they do. Exercise is very similar. I love exercising because I like the way it makes me look. I like the feeling of being muscular, and I like that. Nothing wrong with that. But for so long, I didn't give a shit what I cared about. I cared about following the proper program so I look smart when I talk to people, being like, I'm on X program from X company. People think, wow, that's a really good company. And to talk and brag about stuff. If you really look at what exercise does for your life in a substantial manner, besides decreasing chances of morbidity and certain metabolic diseases and building strength and bone strength and being able to play with your children or keep lively in when you get older, it's not that important. It's just not. Because there's millions of billions of people who've never lifted formally in the gym and they're perfectly content. So spending your entire life, and everyone's allowed to do what they want, yelling at people and putting people down because they don't understand how to count macronutrients is a very, very sad reality of the world that we live in. It's not meaningful. If it was meaningful, these people would not be experiencing chronic depression, anxiety, shame, and guilt. Conditional acceptance is, in many ways, a disease of the mind. And it is natural, innately biological, whatever it is, to judge people off the bat. That does not mean you can't change your belief systems about that. We will always judge, always. But the way that people judge based off strict conditions is how people get into trouble. That is what puts people's lives in a box. So going back to the girls at the pool today, as I was watching them and going back and forth and talking to this older couple who were not in shape and were overweight. Again, there's nothing wrong with being overweight. It's not healthy. It's not a healthy thing. We're not deluding ourselves here, but there's nothing wrong with that. You can accept yourself. Bajillions of people who are not fit. Those people in our conversation were mentally free, while the other people constantly on their phone were not. Social media, if not balanced correctly, will ruin your life in many ways. Not ruin in the case where I always talk about, the definition of your life being ruined is you're dead, but it will hinder your life in more ways that it will bring positive. Now, the internet's amazing. It allows you to watch my videos, it allows you to research different topics, learn about certain things, but most of the stuff on the internet is trash. It doesn't actually bring you closer to your goals. And then when you look at what Rob, because I just got done watching that video by Rob, the self-help motivation world, all books say the same thing. I can read 3,000 traditional self-help books and put it down into 15 sentences, and they all mean the same thing, which is great and has great benefits to insight, but they're not really doing a whole lot. I always say this. I love Tony Robbins. I think he's great. I love his mentor, Jim Rohn. And I have no way to prove this, but I think it's a pretty good theory. If I took everyone who goes to a Tony Robbins seminar and I followed them 1 year later, 80 to 90% of people will have not changed one thing about their life. Because change is very difficult and it takes a lot of discipline. And as Eric and I were talking about today, she was reading a book called Atomic Habits, which is a great book, like The Power of Habit. I haven't read that one yet, but The Power of Habit's great. talking about cues, the reward system, and then the actual behavior change itself, and why you can kind of short circuit certain behaviors and, set yourself up in certain ways to make it a little bit easier to change behavior patterns. Maybe if you're addicted to drugs or you're struggling with alcoholism or trying to change some compulsive behaviors where it's not, teetering from avoidance. Again, this is for general public. It's obviously with OCD, we're very specialized in that. I'm just talking in the grand scheme of life. In that we basically will go our entire life doing everything we can to gain approval by other people. And there are people out there that talk about why that's important to survival, and it's not. Because it's a perception that we have. Approval has great benefits, but there are people who live in cabins in the woods who have no approval, and they're just fine. So it can't be a universal law. Universal principles are quite obvious. Gravity is a universal law. If you drop something in this universe like that, it will drop. Death is a universal principle. You will die one day, as of now. Might change in the future. Imagine seeing people 300 years old, what they would look like. Ooh, imagine that smell. Most things that we value, systems that we abide by, are human-made in every aspect, which is fine, but important to highlight, such as the one, the perfect relationship, different ways that, and Erica and I talk about this a lot. We were on the hike the other day talking about love languages. Erica made some really good points about love languages. I don't use love languages. I think they're not good because it makes us believe that someone can't change their language, which is not true. Nothing in perspective is permanent. Everything is malleable. You believed in Santa Claus when you were younger. You don't now. Your love language could be caring time with someone, and then that person burns you, then you get cheated on, and your husband dies, and then your fourth husband cheats on you. And I guarantee you, from what we see, most people, caring time together will not be one of their top priorities. When you look at someone with a love language perspective, it's the way they perceive things right now. And Eric and I were talking about this, and we just shoot ideas off each other. Also, you look at people on social media and they're hugging in the moonlight and they're kissing and they're always happy. Eric and I disagree on many things, but we always try our best. More so has to be done on my part. She's listening to the wall. She's laughing right now. More so on my part that I have to really come down and be like, we're two different people. We have different perspectives. It's completely fine. I was listening to someone else who's really famous, who I like, talking about that if you and the person you're with do not have the same values, your marriage will fail. That is nonsense, and that is garbage. It is not true. People have different values. What happens is we live in life. We have where we live and then everything in between, which is perspectives, which are malleable, experiences, biological tendencies, like OCD is obviously a biological component. Most people will live their life right here to right here. Very, very superficial. Without even really knowing it. It's not inherently anyone's fault. It's just kind of the culture we live in. Social media has kind of exploded that materialistic, where, people are like, there's no meaning in work anymore. We want to sit down. We want to travel. We want to do everything we want to do. That's great. You need money to do that. So if you want to not work a lot, totally fine. Do what you want and use the money and do what you want to do because it's your life and travel the world. That's amazing. But to think that you're going to do things without, an unrealistic perspective, grand delusion, not in an OCD perspective, just in a life perspective, and you're going to do things without any sort of monetary system to support that, you're deluding yourself and you're living away from reality. So in life, we have objective reality, which can even be debated down to every essence of what it is. This is why philosophy is one of the coolest things to look at. The further you go outside, again, not referring to OCD, I'm just talking in general, the further you go away from objective reality and you skew into subjectiveness, you highly increase your chances of psychological discomfort, OCD suffer or not. So if you have a absolute dire belief in fairness and deservingness, which can be broken down very easily, just show someone Vietnam, show them World War I, show them World War II, show them a pediatric oncology cancer ward. Fairness and deservingness just doesn't exist. I wish it did. I really do. I wish it did. But it just doesn't. Things happen every day that are horrific in their acts. And it's important to realize this because it can help set you up for not never being sad or never being angry, but looking at things in a much more realistic perspective, which can go a very, very long way, and why we talk about acceptance as much as we do. So, again, like I love cars. There's material things I like. I would say cars is probably the biggest one for me. I would have 20 different cars if I had the monetary value to have 20 different cars. And I do that because I love cars. And if you love clothes and if you love going on vacations, do what you want to do. It's your life and you're going to live one time, so you might as well do it, as Rob said. And I always talk about that. One of the strongest motivators in life is death, in my opinion. Death is one of the best motivators on the planet. I think if you look at death for what it is, and you realize that death is coming for all of us, it can help push you somewhere that can really help change your life in a lot of ways. Nothing wrong with TikTok, nothing wrong with social media, nothing wrong with fancy cars, nothing wrong with wanting to spend money a little recklessly. Rob talks about this a lot. There's a lot of nonsense out there about like how you have to spend your money and you have to wait and all that stuff. It's just garbage. These people think you're going to live forever. You could die tomorrow in a plane crash. You have no idea. So be realistic, be balanced. If you want something in life, go and buy it. You know, obviously, if you're in a relationship, discuss that with your spouse. Get yourself in trouble with that. But it's not as serious as we make it out to be. Almost nothing in life. Nothing in life is above sarcasm. Great quote. Great quote. So that's really what I wanted to talk about today. I was in the pool today, like I said, and I had a lot of small little perspectives I was thinking about when I was talking to different types of people. And I was talking to one kid, he was 30 and his third kid's on the way. I'm like, holy crap, guy's younger than me. He's got his third kid on the way. He already had 8 years as a police officer, then this older couple, and then seeing people spend 3 hours at the pool making kissy faces and duck faces, which I used to do. I'm from New Jersey. I used to fake tan. And realizing just how stuck these people are. They're not free at all. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, share it. Super important. And as always, have a great day.